Hello everyone, it's Misha here at the MK Workshops in Glasgow, and I am going to be talking about the woodwind key systems, and particularly with respect to the MK Chameleon key system and why the layout is the way that it is, how it evolved to get to this point, and why it is the way that it is. So I think I personally always found it I was never sure why as a whistle player you had to pick up, if you moved from one key to a different key, you would pick up one instrument, you pick up a different instrument to play in a different key, and I always missed having one instrument that you could just pick up and you could play in any key that you wanted to. You didn't have to move from one instrument to the other, and that was really where the the inception of this project came about. Was why can whistles not play in any other key, like other musical instruments, like most other musical instruments can? Now, I wanted to honor the very simple design and the purity, the simpleness, the authenticity of the tin whistle as a very simple, humble, robust, portable, authentic musical instrument that it is. In this time, it remains a great instrument of folk music, a great instrument of world music, and it has not really ever been taken up by the orchestras of the world, and in a way it has benefited from that, because the styles of music that people play on a whistle, the style that individuals play is highly authentic and personalized. It's not that we have one correct way of playing the whistle, and I think that is a really beautiful thing about the tin whistle as an instrument. It's something which individuals that choose to go their own way really get drawn to, and I think that's a great thing. So I wanted with this to honor that, the simplicity of the elegance of a very basic tin whistle in a way, but I wanted to extend the capability of the instrument so that you could, or I wanted to see how far that could be taken as an experiment. Could we actually create a very simple tin whistle that could play in any key? And that was where this project started 20 years ago. And I think I had initially imagined that whatever key system or whatever system was going to be used to try and extend the capabilities of a whistle, that it might come from one of the existing key systems that are out there. As it turned out, that was actually wrong. Or it wasn't wrong, it was just that that's not the way that it's evolved. So the key system that we have now is not really a variance of the other key systems on woodwind instruments that are in use, and I'll explain a bit more about that in this film. So what am I talking about when I say existing key systems? Well, one of the most popular key systems on woodwinds is the Boehm system, which I actually have here. You can see this is a flute that has a Boehm key system on it, which is Boehm system is named after Theobald Boehm, the inventor, who came up with this highly mechanized system of keys. Now, why do we have these why do we need all of this? Well, why do we need to have a key system at all, I should say? The fundamental issue for woodwind musicians is that there's 12 notes in the chromatic scale, and we have effectively 10 fingers. Now, if you've got 2 thumbs to balance the instrument on as well, that can become 8 effective fingers potentially, but it doesn't matter. 8, 10 fingers, 12 notes. So that's the issue. Unfortunately, unless we change the scales that nearly all music around the world are written in, then we're not going to get rid of that issue for woodwind musicians. So we've had to be, through time, we've had to be inventive about how we work around that problem of having 10 fingers and 12 notes in a chromatic scale, which is the 12 notes of the chromatic scale are what we use in most musics. Now, there are other examples, like Indian music, I think, is 22 as microtones, and it's got 22 different notes. That's generally, most music around the world, folk, pop, jazz, classical, whatever, is based around the 12 notes that we use in the chromatic scale. So this has been an eternal problem for woodwind players and woodwind makers, be it saxophone, clarinet, whistle makers. We've all had this issue. Now, in the 1800s, which was the time of the Industrial Revolution, and mechanization was of everything was really at its peak, I would say. The solution for that problem was which was proposed by Theobald Boehm, a flute maker in Central Europe, proposed this system here, which is highly mechanized, and it must be said, an absolutely amazing piece of work. It has stood the test of time, and it's still played now. It's still used not only on a flute, but also on, and give me one moment here, it is on the saxophone. In fact, it is a variation of that same system, the Boehm key system. And it has continued to be used until this very day. And it's a great system. It's a system of levers and valves that can be used to get the additional notes. And the B flat is on the key at the back here, and the F we get by putting our fingers, the F and the F sharp we get by putting our two, either the third or the second finger down to get our F sharp, and our F is there, which is fantastic. We've also got a C sharp, and we've got a C and a C sharp and a C down on our lower pinky. It's a great system. Sorry, we've got our E flat, a C sharp, and a C on our lower pinky. On our upper pinky, we've got a G sharp key. It's a great system, and it's incredibly impressive, and it is the default system still as used in classical music and jazz music. The trouble with this as a system for folk and kind of ethnic musics, I guess, is that the mechanization kind of is it acts as a go-between. You lose the direct contact with the tone holes that you have on ethnic woodwinds, whistles, Scottish, Irish whistles, flutes, and you lose the ability to use the same ornamentation and note bends and all of these kinds of things. So it's great. It is fantastic as a system for playing in various different chromatic scales, but it is not it's not been widely adopted in folk music and other world / ethnic cultures. So yeah, that is the Boehm system flute there. Then we also have here, and this is courtesy of, let me get this right, which one have we got here? We've got an Ormiston flute here, also made in Scotland actually, which is an African blackwood flute. And this is made by George Ormiston, who I know well and has been incredibly helpful over the years, as I have been starting up in started making whistles going back 25 years now. So yeah, George, again, a fantastic, beautifully made, fantastic instrument. This has a very different key system, and the key system here, it adds on. It's become known as the simple system flute, and it's adopted. I think if you trace it back, it's a Central Europe. It's actually Bohemian in origin in terms of the area that it was from. So there's several makers who have been credited as having an influential hand in the development of the system, but no one person has kind of come up with it. Those makers now are in what would now be kind of modern day Czechia or Germany. And yeah, so this system, similarly to the Boehm system, originated in Central Europe. It too has stood the test of time, and it is a fantastic key system. And it maintains an open holes on the main notes that you come to play on the flute. So I am not a flute player by any manner of means, but I'm just going to play a couple of wee things here. So on the classical flute, because all the holes are covered and they're either open or not, you cannot actually get a note bend. It is either the notes, the holes are either covered or they're not. And also, if you do something, if you go to play ornamentation like a roll that you would on a whistle or a flute, it does work, but you're fighting through the mechanization of the keys to some extent. So it does work, but slightly you're just losing some of the direct intimacy and interaction with the instrument itself on the flute. And again, I am not a flute player. I apologize to George for murdering this flute. Now here, because you have and this is an E flat flute, I think, because you have the direct contact with the tone holes, you can get the bends. And you've got the direct contact with most of the tone holes to be able to kind of play the ornamentation and whatever. The key system, these key systems, they vary. I'm not an expert on the simple system flutes, but one of the reasons why they vary so much is that sometimes you get, so for example, on this, the F key, the F hole here, there's actually two different options for how you play that. I believe that you roll up you can either roll up onto that key there, or you can play it with your pinky as an alternative. It's the same pinky that plays the G sharp if you were on a D flute here, that would play that F key. So there's different solutions depending on how you're playing, which passage, which piece of music, and which passage you were playing. You might choose to play that F by one means or by the other. And one of the things that certainly I tried to do when looking at a key system for the whistles was come up with a system that was going to work. So you didn't need to have several different alternatives for different ways of playing the same note. So yeah, that was kind of one of the sort of the aims, if you like, the objectives with the Chameleon, which is the key system that I've kind of developed over time, really. The layout, which is, I'll come to it now, so I'm just going to put this flute away. There we go. Again, I'm not saying that either the simple system or the Boehm system, there's anything wrong with them. They are time tested. They are hundreds of years old, and they are fantastic systems. It was really just to offer something. It was an opportunity to offer something different in terms of putting a key system on a whistle, which really it's never been done particularly successfully. I'm aware that some people do, and I've been one of them actually, who's been half-holing and cross-fingering the notes that are difficult to get on a low D whistle. I personally found that I could make it work to a point, but it never really worked well enough to play in keys like E flat or D minor. It is a bit easier on high whistles where the ratio of the hole size to the bore size, and this is going into whistle maker speak for a moment, but the ratio of the hole size against the bore size is bigger on high D whistles, and that makes it easier to have whole notes on the higher range of whistles than on the lower range of whistles generally, particularly with certain notes. E flat, for example, on a D whistle has always been a bit tricky to get. So the point is, I think that I was looking for something that could play in the keys that were very, very difficult to play in on on a standard whistle, and this was really it was really many years of work and trying different systems. So in fact, all the early systems that we made were based on a Boehm system flute, and then for a period of time there was a system where we had keys that used the ends of the fingers, so you could play a different note by depressing the key that was under the pad of your finger there, which was okay, but the issue was that everybody has fingers that are different lengths, and it was really quite a tricky. It was a tricky instrument to make for people. So eventually I came to this layout here, and this was really just a process of trying to reduce this down, the key system, to the most simple possible design that I could think of. And by starting with the simple system and the Boehm system, and reducing them down to the most essential elements. So I'll go through these, starting with the kind of more obvious ones. The E flat key and the G sharp key There's nothing groundbreaking in these. These are really as they appear on both the simple system and the Boehm system, and they work fine in both those instances. There's no alternatives. They do not need alternatives because the G sharp and the E flat actually work fine. Now, there is a compromise, and this is the biggest compromise on the MK Chameleon, in that you're losing direct contact with the tone hole. Well, you're losing direct contact. You never had a tone hole there on a standard D whistle. There was no additional hole to play a G sharp or an E flat. So, but for those notes on this, the Chameleon, you don't have direct contact with the tone holes. And the compromise is there really because our pinkies are so much shorter than the other fingers. If they were a bit longer, we might potentially be able to get to a hole. And there may be a simpler method yet that one day we'll come across. I believe there's a Ukrainian instrument that I think uses that method, although it's perhaps not taken off more widely, but it's I believe it perhaps uses the pinky for that note. But it is tricky, and most of the key systems out there at the moment do make use of a G sharp and an E flat key, and that is irrespective of whether you're talking about the simple system flute that is used in folk music, or the Boehm system flute, which is more prevalent in classical music, as I say. Both of those use the G sharp and the E flat. So there's your E flat, which is just simply depressing the pinky on the right hand there. And that, for me really, who for years has been trying to sort of like, you can almost get that E flat by half holing, but you certainly do not get as strong a note as you do with the E flat key. So if you note this, the E flat relative to the D, there's the D, nice strong D, nice strong E flat, which is a revelation really, certainly for me. That is fantastic. And it's the same on the G and the G sharp. Nice strong G sharp. And yeah, so those two keys were really an easy decision in a way, although, as I say, there is a bit of a compromise in that you lose direct contact with the tone hole, and that does turn into a little bit of a weakness when you try and do like rolls on those notes or with those notes. So that's a G sharp roll that I'm attempting there. Not something that I've practiced as much as I should have, but but it is there. But you're fighting the mechanics a little bit more than you are if you're just working with with open tone holes, as it were. So yeah, then we come to the tricky keys, the tricky notes F and B flat, and they really, I mean, I agonized over these notes for many years. I thought maybe a bit like the additional key on the simple system flute, that it was maybe, let's see, yeah, there we go. So on the simple system here, for example, we've got our G sharp as we do on the Chameleon. On this here, we've got our F on the additional pinky, and that seemed like a solution that could happen on both systems. So I could add in an extra key right next to the G sharp, and that would operate the F key, which would be down here. Sorry, we could. Yeah, that's right. The issue is what happens with the E flat. Sorry, what happens with the B flat? Well, where does that come from? And these are some of the problems that we've had on the simple system flute. And of course, the way that it's been resolved there is to have multiple different ways, multiple different keys, which again I tried to avoid with the Chameleon system because it became more complicated. Basically, I was looking for a solution that would work in any case. And when this system emerged, I was really surprised, I have to say, incredibly surprised at why this system of keys on the thumbs has not been tried or thought of before. It's so simple, and it allows the thumb to sit at any point. In fact, those notes, the B flat, those keys, the B flat and the F key, sit closed there. They sit closed all the time as you're resting the instrument on your thumbs. Now, it does mean that you cannot lift both thumbs up because the instrument is resting on one or other of those thumbs. So you cannot lift both thumbs up at the same time, but there's never actually a need to lift both thumbs. At least so far we've not found a note that requires us to lift both of those, to open both of those valves at the same time. So it's not actually a problem, as it turns out, to have those notes, have the instrument resting on one thumb or the other thumb at any one time. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but it can rest on one thumb or the other thumb. And it's very simple. So my note G, for example, is there, A is there, and to get so that's your G, that's the A, to sharpen that A, to get the B flat, I lift the thumb like that. And because the instrument is still balancing on this thumb, on the right hand thumb, it's okay. So, and that is our B flat there, nice and strong. And the same with the F. Yeah, so really nice strong notes. We don't need to kind of, it's not a hack, it's not a workaround, it's not something that we're trying to do like acrobatics. You know, we're not having to move off that note really quickly because it's actually not that strong. If we were playing a slow melody, a slow tune, those notes are reliable enough to be able to sit on the note and just let the note sing. It's not that we're trying to kind of force some system that means that that note is there but it's not really there. So yeah, if we are we've got these, we've got this B flat, we've got this F, so we can actually put that all together. Oh, sorry, missed the E flat. Yeah, and that is all the notes in the chromatic scale again. And we can play those notes really, we can land on those notes in full confidence. We don't have to worry about the strength or the power of those notes, which is fantastic. This is an absolute revelation as a whistle player. It does take some time to learn those fingering patterns and how we get those into our heads. We are extending what's possible. The number of keys that we can play on this is, I don't know how many times bigger, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times bigger, but we can do so much more with this, and we're still kind of experimenting and discovering what we can do. The great thing really is that the ornamentation is there. we've got the open holes. The G sharp and the E flat a little bit trickier with the ornamentation, but even rolls on the A flat, for example. I'm not playing that perfectly, but you get the idea that it is possible, and it's all there. Now, this is the four-legged, so a very simple key design where we can put the thumb down anywhere along the length of that key. The thumb can sit to activate that lever. While working on this, I was testing this instrument one day without the keys on. So I was testing the seal of the pads of the G sharp and the E flat, and I started to get into the habit of just covering the B flat and the F holes just with my thumb, so that I could test these keys individually. And I actually started to find that I did not need the keys on the back of the instrument at all. Now, that was something that evolved over the process of over the period of weeks and months, and it was it was very it was a slow thing, but eventually I got to the point that I realized there is no need for these, or I found there was no need for these for these keys on the back, and we could actually keep our contact with the holes, the B flat and the F holes, directly from our thumbs, which was really quite exciting, and that is kind of led us forward to this point where we have what we have come to know as the two-legged Chameleon, which just has the E flat and the G sharp, and we also have a four-legged which has these two additional valves. So the holes are there on the two-legged, but it's just that the key the key work itself does not exist. So just the tone holes exist for the thumbs, and in my case, certainly that is the design or the variation of it, I should say, that I've settled on and play the most. So that's and actually we do have a separate video on the differences between the two-legged and the four-legged Chameleon. So check that out if that's something that is of interest to you. I will say again, this is returning from a personal perspective. This is by far and away the most exciting thing that we've done as a workshop, as whistle makers. I am incredibly excited about this, the possibilities for this. I think it's one of these things that we don't know where this can lead to. I'm almost surprised at where it's got to, and I'm so happy that we've been able to create something that's just so elegant and simple, and really I feel honours the nature of the whistle itself. I'll say we're not finished with developing this. This is one point in time. We are making these, and they are being sold to musicians around the world who are people that are really looking to develop their own playing and composition skills, particularly at the moment, people who are a little bit more adventurous and who are prepared to take a little bit of a leap of faith. I mean, I find I play, having now started playing these, I don't really pick up the other whistles, because I can do everything on this. All the 6 holes that I've got on the other whistles I've got on this. We are also taking this over to the key patterns over to an F whistle, which is extremely exciting because it opens up the possibility to play in in other keys, like in the standard keys on an F whistle. And I think certainly me, and I think many other players of whistles really prefer the sort of the smaller size, or the in between size whistles, like the F key of F, G, or whistles in F, G, and A, for example, almost seem like a more natural, and I don't think I'm saying anything too crazy there, but like they almost feel, they are really a more natural key for whistle players to, the more natural keys for whistle players to or more natural instruments for whistle players to play on. And I think that is, we end up playing on high Ds and low Ds because we're wanting to play with other instruments, want to fit in with other instruments that are playing in the keys of G, D, those kinds of keys, E minor, A sometimes, although even A, the traditional D whistles are a little bit limited on in terms of the G sharp. You can kind of get it, kind of not. So it's an exciting proposition to be able to play in D, for example, on an F whistle, like an F equivalent of this. So yeah, I'm really incredibly excited. I mean, the original design of the MK whistle, which dates back really to 25 years now, to when I started making whistles as a teenager. I think that was one thing to come up with the design of the basic whistle, which was interesting to work on. But this tone hole layout and key system, in my opinion, is way more exciting than the any kind of different approaches or ground that was broken in terms of the design of the whistle itself. So yeah, I can't really tell you how excited I am about this. As I say, about the the design and the tone hole layout of this and what it means for the future. So all I can say is, if you are out there and you are you have any questions about it, any reservations, please do get in touch. Use the comments down below, and please do just send us a message. Let us know what you're thinking. I would love to encourage you to get going on this. It's something that is just a bold, it's a brave new world, and I would love you to to experience some of that. Yeah, so that's it really from the MK workshops here, and I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like or subscribe, or more importantly, as I say, if you have any questions, just put them in the comments or let us know by email or however you wish what additionally you'd like to know, and we'll keep posting videos, and yeah, hopefully they're of value to you. Bye for now.